Hello everyone, my name is James Kenobi1138 from the Replica Prop Forum. That came out a little funny, and I wanted to do a quick show and tell for you guys today. And I wanted to show two things that I've had in my collection, one for a really long time, and one for a pretty short amount of time. The first item that I want to show off today in the show and tell is this, which is not a James Bond gun. I'm going to kind of scoot back here a little bit. This is a gun that if you are a Star Wars fan, you may be familiar with. This is a gun that is most commonly referred to as the Princess Leia Gun. And it's called that because if you remember from the original Star Wars A New Hope, when Princess Leia is on the Tantive 4 blockade runner, she has this gun clutched in her hands. And when the stormtroopers find her and they say, you know, there is one set for stun, she takes her blaster and she fires and hits a stormtrooper, and then she's immediately stunned and taken over. You may also remember, if you're a pretty eagle-eye viewer, at the very end of Star Wars A New Hope, when Luke Skywalker and Chewbacca and Han Solo are walking down to receive their medals, this gun, because it was the same prop, is in Luke's holster. There's a lot of promo images of this gun. Now, the gun itself, the actual prop, was based on a Russian target pistol. And it's made by a Russian manufacturer, and it's been reproduced. Master Replicas made a pretty nice version. Obviously, they didn't use the real gun. They had theirs made out of, machined out of metal to replicate it. But my version is actually made of cast resin. I bought this at a convention about 10 years ago. I think it was in about 2004. Mine's a solid resin cast, and it has a threaded rod in here for strength because the barrel is so long. And mine is actually cast from the real Russian target pistol. It's got serial numbers, and it's got model numbers, made in USSR on it. This part, of course, was custom made. When the company I bought this from, I got it very inexpensively. I think I paid $25 or $35. I might have paid $45 for it. It wasn't very expensive at all. This piece, this is the original flash suppressor from the target pistol. This, of course, is the same radial engine piece that was used on the Han Solo blaster and also on the Star Wars comlinks. And this was a piece of a Graflex synchronizing cord. And this, from here back, this is actually the target pistol. This piece here would normally be attached right here, and they lengthened it just to change it up a little bit. Mine is made out of solid resin, painted in a two-tone black pattern. I did not paint it. It came this way. There's a little bit of a seam line here or there, but overall, this is a really cool little prop that I could not be happier with. I've always really enjoyed this thing. I think it's neat. It's instantly recognizable, and it's just a very neat little prop. I have a Princess Leia dress. I have this. I would someday like to get a mannequin and be able to display because there's a couple of life-size figures I'd like to make, Leia being one of them, Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi and such. And I'd love to put this gun, this blaster in her hand. It's pretty lightweight, which is really nice. I've actually costumed with this with my Luke ceremonial jacket. So that's a pretty neat little prop that I've enjoyed and had for quite a long time. I've just recently been able to put it on display. The other prop I wanted to show you is this right here. This is Luke Skywalker's DL-44 blaster as seen in The Empire Strikes Back. Now, my build is not very spectacular. I'm a lightsaber guy, and this is the first blaster that I've ever made. Now, I learned a lot making this thing, and I studied a lot of images from the movie. A lot of promo images. Basically, in Star Wars, they used a Denix gun to make Han Solo's blaster as the base, and they added the scope and the flash hider and all kinds of stuff to it. In The Empire Strikes Back, they gave Luke and Han the same gun. They changed the Star Wars gun to look more like this. Now, in the filming of the movie, Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill actually just interchanged with the same gun. There's some stunt versions, some resin versions, and blah, blah, blah. There were at least two metal guns And Luke uses it in some scenes, and Han uses it in some scenes, and they sort of trade off depending. Now, when I went to make mine, I used what's known as a Denix. A Denix is a gun base made by a company called Denix. It's made of metal, but it's made just a cast metal. But it has a really nice weight to it, and it's pretty much a fairly accurate, let's say 90% accurate, to the Mauser German pistol. For the movie, they added a custom flash suppressor, which was made specifically for the movie. In Star Wars, the one that was on Han Solo's gun had come off of a machine gun, an actual machine gun. But this one was custom made for the movie. They used a scope that I believe, if I remember correctly, was like a range finder for a tank. A tank operator, maybe a gunner, a driver, I'm actually not sure, could look through this scope, and I actually believe it was more of a rangefinder than like a magnifying scope, but I could be wrong. That was put on a custom bracket. There's a very particular knob on the side. There were some details, some model kit details that were glued on the side here to kind of trick the gun out a little bit more. On my replica, the base gun is a metal Denix. The flash hider is aluminum. And when I was watching the movie, I noticed that you can tell which scenes Mark Hamill is using which gun. When Mark Hamill is on Dagobah, and he hears Yoda, and he pulls his gun out, and he points it at Yoda. Yoda says, "Away, put your weapon." I mean, no harm. There's Yoda right here. The flash hider doesn't have any of this black scoring on it that mine has. It's more silver. When Luke is on Cloud City and he pulls his blaster out because Boba Fett is firing at him, he's in a white environment. The Cloud City walls are an off-white, kind of taupey, peach pink color, and he has a very dark flash hider, which stands out against the white background, whereas on Dagobah, his dark flash hider would have gotten hidden, so he has a bright one. If you look at the publicity photos, there are some publicity photos of Mark Hamill in his Empire Strikes Back costume with the dark flash hider. There are other publicity photos in the same costume where he has the light flash hider. Once you determine which gun is which, you see that there are some details on the dark flash hider gun because there's weathering on the scope and weathering on the gun itself. If you have the dark flash hider, there's certain weathering. If you have the light flash hider, there's certain weathering. What I did on mine was I sort of made an idealized blaster. I liked the dark flash hider, but the dark flash hider had a lot of paint missing around the bracket, and I did not like that. I went with the light flash hider weathering bracket with the dark flash hider. My bracket is metal. My scope is actually a cold cast bronzed resin scope, which I had a lot of trouble with. It had a bronze powder put in the mold and then the resin poured in. When I first received it, it looked like it was made of bronze, and the original ones were made of bronze. The problem is there was a really nasty seam. Once I started sanding, I sanded the bronze away and basically just had a resin scope. So I wound up just painting it, and all of the little bronze that looks like it's showing through on the scope, I actually applied topically by dry brushing. The bolt on the gun works. You would normally, you would pull it back and the bullets would go here in the chamber. The hammer also works. You can sit and pull the trigger and play with the gun here if you want to. The details, my model kit details on the side were made of cast resin. I had to paint them because they were, in the original model kit, they were black plastic. Mine were kind of a tan resin, but I got those glued on. I changed the screws in my grips. In the movie, they were the plastic ones like this. I actually would like to upgrade to some wooden ones at some point. Overall, I'm pretty happy. I stripped off the original Denix, had a painted finish. I wanted more of a blued gun finish to it, so I basically stripped the gun down to bare silver metal, went back in with permablue, re-blued the whole gun, was able to scuff up the edges to show the silver because that's the same kind of weathering and detailing that was on the screen-used gun. I will say that I'm extremely happy with this. I think if you see a picture of it, it looks very similar to the gun used in the movie, but obviously not identical. I'm very, 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 very happy and pleased with the weathering that I did on the flash hider. I really like it. I think it looks very accurate to the one that's in the movie from the stills that I've seen. The only part of the gun that I don't really like, because I have a solid scope, is I don't have any kind of a lens. If you have a real scope, you can see through the scope out the other side. You could technically use it like a scope as it was originally intended. But since it's more of a static prop piece, it's not a working gun, so it doesn't really matter if it has a working scope or not. In the movie, they were never, using the scope anyway. I think it's just kind of on there to look cool. But my Empire Strikes Back Luke blaster, I do actually really love this. I'm more and more happy with it every day. And my Princess Leia blaster, both very cool, both something that, these are both guns that I really love having on display. I consider them to be just instantly recognizable guns. And they're, front and center in my collection. So anyway, I appreciate you taking the time to check out my little show and tell here with my little blasters. If you needed or wanted any more in-depth photos of this one especially, I do have a post on the Replica Prop Forum. You can search by my name. Or search for Luke DL44 Blaster, and you'll probably see this one come up. So there's a lot more close-up images, and there's some build pictures and such. If you wanted a little bit more information, go to therpf.com, THERPF.com, and you can see a lot more photos of this guy right here. Thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a great day, and I'll check you next time.